Hi everybody, welcome to my homestead and welcome to my channel. My name is Jared. This is a map of all church properties across the United States, whether it be land that it currently uses for temples or meeting houses or whatever, as well as investment properties and stuff like that. I have this up because this video kind of came up, or it came together in an interesting and very natural way. And I don't know, maybe there's a reason for that. But we're going to be talking about lands in the Midwest. We're going to talk about these 300 Tongan families that were said to have moved to an area near Adamandiaman. We're going to go back and review that email in case you missed that video. But we're going to talk about basically movement to the Midwest. I don't know if you watched my last video about Nauvoo, where I was interviewing Elaine Pence. She lives in Nauvoo. She's a real estate agent. She said that she's seen a lot of people come to the area. So we're gonna talk about that and some interesting things that have to do with land and this group of Tongans that are in Missouri. And then if there's time, I want to go back and revisit the blue supermoon that just happened, because as I was talking to my wife Jenica in the car, she brought up some interesting things and it made me kind of think about it more. And I think I realized maybe some more significance to that super blue moon. So if I don't get to it here, I'll do it in the next video. I have no idea how long this video is going to take. I never do. Okay, so let's refresh our memories. I got this email from Sharon Jackson. The subject line is rumor. Could this possibly be true? I saw this on Facebook. And so there's a group on Facebook with somebody that posted in the group that said, the gathering to Missouri has begun. 300 families from Tonga have relocated to areas near Adamandiaman. If that is not a sign, I will eat my hat. Now, when I covered this the first time, we went over extensively how there's not going to be a capitalized gathering to Missouri. I do tend to think that people are being inspired to move to not only Missouri, but the Midwest, Kansas, Illinois, Nebraska, Arkansas. I feel like I've seen this a lot just in interacting with you and then my own personal firsthand experience, including myself moving from from Arizona to here. I'm living in a place and I never thought that I would live, but I've talked about that a lot on the channel. So I feel like there is movement and there is a general, perhaps, gathering, but not of the entire church. We went over quote after quote after quote of recent prophets and apostles that have said that that's not the case. We have Zion all over the world. You gather to your local stakes of Zion, and that's where you're supposed to be. Argentina is for the Argentinians. Germany is for the Germans. Spain is for the Spaniards, so on and so forth. That's where you gather. You stay in your homelands, and you have your temple there, and you have your stakes. But with that being said, I do tend to think that there is some movement to the Midwest, and that probably has to do with preparations for the second coming. I'm sure that it's going to be helpful, advantageous to have more saints moving to these areas, because whenever New Jerusalem, the actual city with streets and infrastructure, whenever that's built up, it's going to be one of the world headquarters, and it probably would be useful to have, a number of people there, a substantial number of people to inhabit that city along with the region roundabout. So right now, that's kind of how you have it with Utah. So let's do this. Let's look at the map here. Let's go off of satellite. The way things are right now, since Brigham Young led the Saints to Utah, is Utah got established, Utah and then Salt Lake got founded and established. And then they spread out and they colonized mostly the inner Mountain West. In fact, there were families that were given assignments to go move to, Arizona, for example, Mesa, Arizona, California, and stuff like that. And so that's kind of we still see the remnants of that today, where Utah is currently what you might call the center place. It's the headquarters of the church, but we also know that that is going to go back, excuse me, to Jackson County, Missouri. I have a whole list of quotes talking about that never changed. That's still going to be the headquarters of the church in the future. President Nelson has said it. We've read from, I'm not going to pull it up. I've already done a number of videos about it. The plan is, the plan is still that Jackson County, Missouri, specifically Independence, is going to be turned into the New Jerusalem. So, you know what? No, I better do it. I better do it. I better do it. Let's go to my quotes, common misconceptions. Let's go down to New Jerusalem. Okay, I have a bunch of... There's so many misconceptions when it comes to the New Jerusalem, when our prophets and apostles have spoken clearly about it. So if you were to go on the church website and go to gospel topics, okay, I have the link here. If you ever go to my spreadsheet, the link is in the description below of every video. You can click on that link, come to my spreadsheets. This is under the tab quotes, common misconceptions, and it's on row 75. So the misconception is the center place will be in Salt Lake City, not Independence, Jackson County, Missouri. So when you go to the church website, you go to gospel topics, this is what you'll find. When you look up, I think just Zion, it says the word Zion can also refer to specific geographic locations as follows: the city of Enoch, the ancient city of Jerusalem, the New Jerusalem, which will be built in Jackson County, Missouri. This is what's on the church website under gospel topics. Okay. But if you need more, that's fine. Let's go to the book Gospel Principles. All right. And on page 255, it says, near the time of the coming of Jesus Christ, the faithful saints will build a righteous city, a city of God, called the New Jerusalem. Jesus Christ himself will rule there. The Lord said the city will be built in the state of Missouri in the United States. Okay, so this is in the Gospel Principles manual. It's an official church manual. So you have it under Gospel Topics. You have it under Gospel Principles. Okay, then we have President Nelson. This was 1974. At the time, he was Sunday School General President. He said, our duty is to raise up a generation of men and women worthy to receive the coming of the Lord. For he will come to Jackson County, Missouri, to be sustained as King of Kings, and he will come also to Israel to be hailed as Lord of Lords. Then his millennial reign will be ushered in. You young, strong, and faithful men and women will bear the burden of the kingdom of God upon the earth as these days of destiny come. Bruce R. McConkie says it. The New Jerusalem will yet be built in Jackson County, Missouri. He says it a few times. Marion G. Romney, the prophet Joseph Smith, who was visiting the saints, then assembled in Jackson County, Missouri, that they were in the land of promise, the place for the city of Zion. And then toward the end of this quote, it says, he was warning them that in Jackson County, Missouri, which was Zion then and will yet be Zion, where they were going, the law, that is, his law, had to be kept. Let me just read one more. Let's see. I think this one. This is from Joseph Fielding Smith. City of Zion and temple yet to be built. Nearly 100 years have passed since the site of Zion was dedicated. and the spot for the temple was chosen. And some of the members of the church seem to be fearful lest the word of the Lord shall fail. Others have tried to convince themselves that the original plan has been changed and that the Lord does not require at our hands this mighty work, which has been predicted by the prophets of ancient times. We have not been released from this responsibility, nor shall we be. The word of the Lord will not fail. Um, anyway, there's more. I mean, there's just on and on and on and on. It hasn't changed. It has not changed. Okay. So let me go back to this because we'll be referring to this in just a minute. Um, so let's go back to the map. Not that one. So anyway, it would make sense knowing that the headquarters of the church is going to move to Jackson County, Missouri, that you would want something similar. You would want a lot of saints living in the Midwest. Just like right now, a lot of them live in the Intermountain West and the West Coast of the United States. So I guess it's not really a surprise that as we approach the Second Coming, I feel like you hear more and more about people moving to the Midwest. You know, again, whether it's Kansas, Missouri, Iowa, Nebraska, Illinois, Arkansas, Oklahoma, you know, this area, South Dakota. All right. So let me show you uh, some of the responses that I got after I went over this email from Sharon Jackson, because I was like, uh, do I have any of these Tongans listening to my channel? Do you know any? If you do, can you reach out? Let me know if this is true. Because the way that this comment reads, it's almost like 300 families all at the same time have relocated to near Adamondiaman, which I said, I don't think that that's true. And again, there's not going to be a big gathering to Missouri. The Lord is probably going to just bring people one by one, two by two. So I got some emails back. I'm not going to be able to zoom in on this because of the highlighter or this like this app that I'm using to make these marks on the page because it affects just I can't zoom in. I'm sorry. You'll just have to listen. Okay, this is from Michael or Mikhail Hall. He says, "Thank you for addressing this topic in your episode today. I agree with your conclusion. I did Google search for the supposed 300 Tongan families who have recently moved near Adamondiaman. I found there is some truth to this claim. I found this article about a Tongan branch that just opened in Trenton, the first in Missouri, which happens to be close to Adamondiaman. The article specifies there are 87 members, not 300. Well, and remember, in the original post, it said 300 families, so it'd be more than just 300 individuals, if that was true. And then he provides the link, and then continues. It also specifies that many of these Tongans moved there for the local university and opportunities it offers them. That reason is supported by this article. And by the way, we're going to go over both of these articles. It seems we know approximately how many Tongans moved to Trenton recently, as well as their motive. I feel you did a great job addressing this in your episode today. I simply wanted to share with you the details I found available online. Below is a picture of my Google search. Keep up the great work." Thank you, Michael. We are going to go over that, and I'm glad that you brought that to my attention. I got another email from Anonymous, subject line Trenton, Missouri. Please share this as Anonymous, of course. "I'm Tongan, currently living in Utah. There are many, many Tongans moving to Trenton. It's nicknamed Trentonga." I like that. Now, because so many Tongans are migrating there. Many are moving merely on the impression and pull to do so. So that's interesting. Merely on the impression and pull to do so. I can say my little family has also received the impression and pull to move to a place near Adamondiaman. I don't know the significance of why. Well, I'm sure that you have an idea because of how significant that place is, especially when it comes to the second coming. But anyway, I don't know the significance of why, but I know with surety the Lord is moving many to Missouri. There's also a group on Facebook called Utah to Missouri. I didn't know that. It's a group of saints who are receiving the poll and impression to move to Missouri. Many have already made the move, and they're helping others to move too. The group has grown significantly within the past few months. The Lord is calling many back to Missouri for a specific purpose, and it will be exciting when we find out why. Well, spoiler alert, it's because of the second coming and because New Jerusalem is going to be set up and all the area roundabout. Um, I want to say that in Adamondiaman, didn't they originally like dedicate part of it for a temple, or didn't they like, if you know, put it in the comments below. But I want to say that, just like Far West and just like Independence, Missouri, that there was a plan to build a temple in Adamondiaman. So if you know, put it in the comments just to confirm. So, all right, thank you, Anonymous. And Anonymous shared the same link for the church news website. So we'll look at that in just a minute. And then I got this one. Uh, subject line Tongan Branch. Hey, Jared, the Grand River Valley Ward out of Trenton, Missouri is in my stake. Okay, so this is where we start talking about Trenton, Missouri. Or no, it was brought up in the last email, but okay, so here's Trenton, Missouri, right here. And here's the entrance to Adamondiaman. So it is only, let's see, 19.2 miles. And according to Google Maps, only like 29 minutes away by car. So it's pretty close. It's pretty close. Okay. So let's go back to this. The Grand River Valley Ward out of Trenton, Missouri, is in my stake. The Far West Missouri stake. A few weeks ago, the Tongans that were in that ward split off, and they now have their own branch, the Trenton Branch. When the branch was created, there were 89 members in it, but I've been hearing that others are flocking there. They all say that they are getting promptings from the Lord to move here, probably similar to what my husband and I experienced. Moving to Missouri was definitely never on our radar. And I'll tell you what, Anonymous, neither was it mine to come to Kansas. I never in my life thought that I would come to Kansas, but here I am. It absolutely came out of the blue. So we followed the prompting, not because we thought that everyone is supposed to gather to Missouri, but that the Lord wants us here. Yeah, I would agree. And by the way, if you're not getting promptings to move to Missouri or to the Midwest, I don't think that means any, I don't think that means anything's wrong with you or that you're subpar. I mean, hopefully you've learned this throughout your experience in the church. Some people are called to different callings for different reasons, sometimes known, sometimes unknown. A bishop receives a prompting. Sometimes he doesn't even know why he calls somebody to a certain calling, but it happens, and then later they find out why. So I think it would be the same case. I think it would be the same case with people moving to this area. And I don't think it would be wise for everybody to go, but just follow the promptings of the Spirit and do things in a practical way. So for example, we're talking about these Tongans moving to Trenton. Well, it's spiritual, but it's also practical because there's that university there that they really like. For me, I moved to Kansas because I was looking at Arizona. I loved Arizona. I'm originally from Utah, and then we left because I was about to jump into my career as an aircraft dispatcher. So we moved to Arizona because that would facilitate things. and ended up not finding a job that I wanted to take as an aircraft dispatcher. So I joined the Army, went to Texas, came back to Arizona, and then in Arizona, that's when we decided that we wanted to have a homestead. And wouldn't you know, there was nothing affordable in Arizona or anywhere west of Kansas. Everything out here, and I checked this. I don't know how many months ago. We went on Zillow and looked at home prices in the West, and it's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. It's insane, you might say. So we started looking at Texas because that's where we had lived when I was in Fort Hood, or when I was in the Army at Fort Hood. And there were some good places there, affordable. Started looking at Arkansas, Oklahoma, Missouri, Kansas, Nebraska. Looked at this entire area, and then we were just drawn to Kansas, just because I mean, multiple reasons, but we liked it. So it's not like I got an impression, hey, you need to get closer to Missouri, and then us just be like, okay, we'll just figure this out. No, there was a practical reason to go there. So I think that you can't just be crazy and just be like, oh, we're special, and for that reason alone, I'm going to Missouri. It's between you and the Lord. Ultimately, it's between you and the Lord. Okay, so let's go back to this. So we followed the prompting not because we thought that everyone is supposed to gather to Missouri, but that the Lord wants us here. And then she does like a hands up in the air, like, He could have just as easily told us to go to Texas or Colorado or Maine, and we would have gone. We've been wondering what our purpose is here, and we don't know if it's due to our callings in the bishopric, young men's presidents, or the bishopric / young women's president. Well, in honestly, anonymous, it could be all of the above. It could be all of the above. You know, that might be one reason why you're brought. Is simply, it may not be that you have anything like really, really special to do, but they just need somebody to be young women's president, or they need someone to be, first counselor in the bishopric, or something like that, along with probably many other things. Okay, the beautiful thing about the prepared people moving here and aren't homeless, or are depending on church welfare, which is also happening, is that the rate of activity in our ward is near 80%. Those who were called here actually want to live their covenants and attend church, etc. I don't know how many of them believe that everyone's going to move. Okay, I don't know how many of them believe that everyone's going to gather to Missouri. Yeah, and then I have that whole list of quotes as well. There's not everybody's going to go to Jackson County, Missouri, or even the Midwest. Another thing I was going to say is that, yeah, it would make sense that people moving to the Midwest would be active, if they're following promptings, because in the Midwest and other parts of the world where there aren't a lot of members of the church, it's not a cultural thing like it is in Utah or Idaho. It's not culture. It's because you're the real deal. You're not going there for, to please your community, your society that you live in. It's not as advantageous here to be a member of the church, because back in Utah and stuff like that, um, it probably reflects better on you that you're active in the church when you live in an area that's essentially dominated by members of the church. And so therefore it's like, well, I'm going to keep playing this part. I'm going to keep the LDS costume on so that I get all the benefits. But you don't have to worry about that when you move to other places in the world. So anyway, so yeah, that makes sense. Okay. I don't know how many of them. Okay, no. Anyway, I don't know that there are specifically 300 Tongans flooding to Missouri, but I do know that there are so many that they now have their own branch and growing. Thanks for all you do. I listen every day. I mow lawns for about 12 hours a week, and that gives me time to catch up on previous episodes. Smiley face. All right, so thank you, Anonymous. So, and before we jump into these articles, um, I want to remind everybody about the Polynesians and their special heritage. So, apparently, I haven't read this one yet on the channel because it's highlighted, but this is from Spencer W. Kimball, 1977. Official report of the Samoa Area Conference held in Pago Pago and Apia, Samoa. Okay, so, but don't worry, this applies to all Polynesians, not just Samoans. It applies to Tongans. You'll see what he says here. He says, I thought to read you a sacred scripture that pertains especially to you, the islanders of the Pacific. It is in the 63rd chapter of Alma. He then read the account of Hagoth, which was a Nephite, right? He's the one that built the ship, and they left, and no one knew where they went. All right, then Spencer W. Kimball continues. And so it seems to me rather clear that your ancestors moved northward and crossed a part of the South Pacific. You did not bring your records with you, but you brought much food and provisions. And so we have a great congregation of people in the South Seas who came from the Nephites and who came from the land southward and went to the land northward, which could have been Hawaii. And then the further settlement could have been a move southward again to all these islands and even to New Zealand. The Lord knows what he is doing when he sends his people from one place to another. That was the scattering of Israel. Some of them remained in America and went from Alaska to the southern point, and others of you came this direction. All right, so I'm going to take the highlight off that. I've done a video specifically about this because there are so many quotes about the Polynesians being descended from the Nephites. It's not something that we talk about every day. It's not something that we talk about every day, but it has been said many times. Spencer W. Kimball, David O. McKay, Gordon B. Hinckley, and others. So, again, when we're thinking about the Lord moving people around, it would make sense to me that he would have a certain number of these Nephites coming to the Midwest near Adamandayaman. It makes sense to me. And not only them, but others like me and like Anonymous and other people that have moved in this direction. So it makes complete sense. All right, so let's go ahead and read some of this. In fact, this whole thing, but it's pretty short. Okay, first Tongan branch created in Missouri. This is dated just about like a week ago, the 24th of August. Now I realize why I'm here, says new branch president. Okay, this is, let's see. The Trenton Branch Tongan leadership is, from left, Andrew H. Fissi Italia, first counselor, President Viliami K. Aso, branch president, and Tivita L. Mahuinga, second counselor. The branch is located in Trenton, Missouri, in part of the far west Missouri state, just like Anonymous said. And again, just so we have a visual of how close that is, it's right here. Let me zoom out. Okay, you can see the state of Missouri right here. It's very close. Again, it's only a half hour away. It's like a half hour drive to Adamandayaman. Okay. Missouri now has its first Tongan branch of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. The Trenton Branch, Tongan, was created from the Grand River Valley Ward in the far west Missouri state. The Ward and Branch share the hour of meetings such as Sunday school, primary, relief society, and elders quorum, but have separate sacrament meetings. This allows the Tongan saints to worship in Tongan. The branch has 87 members. So there's that number 87. The branch president is President Viliami K. Aso, who has led 2 other Tongan branch presidencies in other locations in the past. His first counselor is Andrew H. Fisi Italia, and his second counselor is Tavita L. Mahuinga. Mahuinga was the first Tongan to reside in Trenton in northwest Missouri, near many church historic sites. Okay, so it was him. He's the first one. These are essentially pioneers, is my take on that. He has had a lifelong mission to find a place where Tongan youth could attend college, and he found it in Trenton. When Mahu Inga left Tonga to go to the United States in 1973, his father counseled him to find a place where Tongan youth could attend college. This is interesting, and you have to think that it's this counsel that he received from his father is probably very inspired, like very, very inspired, because it's like moving an entire group of people to an area. That became his lifelong mission. When he visited Adamandayaman the first time, he had a spiritual experience. Soon after, he learned about North Central Missouri College in Trenton, 26 miles away from Adamandayaman. When he visited the college and spoke with leaders, he felt the close-knit college had personalized attention, and the small community was a good match for Tongan families and youth. Okay, so let's take a look really quick at NCMC, North Central Missouri College. Students, 1,458. 757 full-time, 701 part-time. So it's a really small college. It's very small. Okay, let's go back. In 2022, Mahu Inga's daughter started classes at the college, and the school held a ceremony honoring her as the first international student from Tonga. He said he went through many trials on his journey to Trenton. Quote, "Deep in my heart, there was testimony. I just kept going," he said. "I'm looking at this now as I was prepared to do this." Yeah, end quote. President Aso knew Mahu Inga previously and moved to Trenton to do some work for him. He called his wife, Anna Latu Aso, in Salt Lake City and said, "I feel a strong spirit here. I'm going to stay. I think we have a mission over here." Anna also joined her husband after visiting the area. After the branch was created and President Aso was called to lead it, he said, quote, "Now I realize why I am here. This is why the Lord wants us here. I am so grateful the Lord knows me and wants to use me." End quote. President also hopes the branch can grow in strength and numbers and eventually become a ward. The branch presidency expects more families to move to the area by next summer. Families are also growing. Twins were just born to a Tongan couple in the branch, and the members and missionaries are working on inviting their neighbors to be baptized. So that is really interesting. It's very, 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 very interesting. There's another article. I want to read part of this. This is from KTN, I guess out of Trenton, Missouri. North Central Missouri College Board of Trustees hear presentation on Kingdom of Tonga, address numerous issues. Now, this is like a comprehensive article. It's not saying address numerous issues with the Tongans that are coming. This is like talking about, like later on, it talks about all these like different, issues specific to the school that don't have to do with the Tongans. But they talk about the Tongans at the beginning. So The North Central Missouri College Board of Trustees on April 26th heard about families from the Kingdom of Tonga attending the college. Dean of Instruction Mitch Holder reported the first student from Tonga attended this semester, and a flag raising ceremony was held on April 22nd. The flag is on display in the library. He said he can tell that the people from Tonga are sincere. He noted some families from Tonga are moving to Trenton, and some houses have been purchased by Tongans. The talking chief, on behalf of the king, is speaking to Tongans about NCMC. Students from Tongan American families now have an interest in coming to NCMC, Holder said. Holder said they would be different than those who are international students from Tonga. So you have the Tongan Americans, and then the ones that are directly from Tonga. NCMC President Dr. Lenny Claver said Tongan students might have problems getting through a consulate in Fiji. He plans to write a letter to the consulate. So that's interesting, because if you think about this on the spiritual level, this is like potentially, if they take his letter into consideration, it kind of like opens the door for more Tongans directly from Tonga to go to Missouri. To go to Missouri. That is crazy. Holder commented that individual attention appeals to Tongans. He said they are excited about all programs at NCMC. They like allied health and how it could improve nursing services in Tonga. They also like the agricultural program. And then later on, it says, okay, Director of Advising and Retention, Jenna Stevens, presented information on orientation, advising, and registration, otherwise known as OAR. She said 275 incoming students attended on-campus OAR last year. NCMC hopes for at least 300 this year. Now, the person that wrote this comment right here, I don't know if this is where they got that 300 number from, if they read this article. But at this point, it's not talking about Tongans. It's talking about just the number of incoming students in general that are scheduled to do the orientation, advising, and registration or whatever. So this is not Tongans. It's not Tongan families specifically. Of course, part of this number would be Tongans, but this is just generally talking about college business at this point of the article. So the first part talks about the Tongans. Later, it just goes into college business. Okay, so Adamondayaman, I thought it would be interesting maybe to look at Zillow. And, since we just talked about Nauvoo with Elaine, I wanted to see what it had on Zillow. Of course, it's not going to have all listings on here, but you can kind of see what there is in the area, and you can see that it's actually affordable. You can actually afford this without getting into $500,000 in debt. You could potentially pay this off before the 30 years is up, or have money left over for other things. And on top of that, this is like I don't know if that's a trailer home. Kind of looks like one, but you get a lot for your money out here. Like I said, I got my property only about $100,000. Well, it was like 115 ultimately, only $115,000, and we have 2 acres. We have a nice little home. We have all these outbuildings. We have a barn. We have a 2-car garage that's detached, and inside that garage, it has 2 workshops. And then we have another shed that we're using as the chicken coop. We have a fenced yard. We have like all these things. No, it's not brand new, but we have a lot. We have a lot of space, and we have a stream that goes through the pasture, which is really cool. So we in the pasture was all set up, the fencing was already up, so we could just start right away and have cows. It's unbelievable. It's like I couldn't believe that this was real life when I started looking at the Midwest. I think there's a lot of opportunities still this way. So here in Nauvoo, there's not a whole lot in the city itself, but it doesn't get much more expensive than $150,000. Here's a 6-bedroom, 3-bath house, about 36, close to 3,700 square feet. So that's pretty cool. And you can turn this, you could actually do work, like outside work, and make this really nice, or work on the house itself and modernize it. Um, let's go over to Trenton. Am I am I going to be able to find it? Probably not. All right, let's just do a search. I was overconfident. Trenton, Missouri. Okay, look, I was really close. I was really close. All right. You have this, the most expensive it gets, according to Zillow, or just with what's on Zillow, is 190,000. I know some of you have really high standards. You have to have brand new things. That's fine. But there's nothing wrong with taking a place and making it your own. But this is just in the town itself. This one's probably just land. You can buy all that land for $1 million if you have that. Let's zoom out. I was hoping that it would update with, oh, it's because let me take Trenton off. Let me zoom in here. Adirondack probably won't show up because it's not a city. No. Jameson, Missouri. That's close to Adirondack. And then let me just take this off. Here's a bunch of places here that are close to Adirondack. But because it's around a lake, it's more expensive, but still looks like there are at least some affordable homes in that area. A little bit more pricey. Okay, anyway, so you get the idea. You can play around with this or whatever website you like. Look for a place, but maybe do that. If you're having promptings, then get on Zillow or some other website and see what there is out there. Okay, let's go to this. This is an article that my mom sent me from the Salt Lake Tribune. Latest from Mormon Land. Of course, the Salt Lake Tribune is kind of antagonistic toward the church, and so they don't use the correct name of the church, even though we request that everybody do so. Church is unloading hundreds of acres in Missouri. All right, so what's that about? Now, this is from yesterday, August 31st. For sale in Zion. If faithful Latter-day Saints return to Missouri as part of a pre-Second Coming gathering, as many members believe, they won't be settling on 1,860 church-owned acres just south of Independence. Why not? Because the Utah-based Faith's real estate subsidiary, Suburban Land Reserve, is selling that property. Kansas City's WDAF TV reports. Located in Lee's Summit, a city of 103,000 people, straddling Jackson and Cass counties, the vast wildland is expected to bring thousands of new jobs, the news station says, and tens of thousands of new residents once it's developed. Well, let's see what they're talking about here. And I did pull it up. So this is Lee's Summit right here. Let me go to, well, no, I'll leave it like this. You can see the developed areas in like this white or gray color, and then undeveloped areas in green. And if we go to this map over here that the Salt Lake Tribune put together of church-owned properties, and we go to Lee's Summit, yeah, I think it's this right here. Yeah, there it is. Lee's Summit. So here's the 291 that goes down like that. You hop over here. Here's the 291, and you can see it's all this like undeveloped land right here. And Independence is more, it's up here. So here's Leeds. So this down here, this undeveloped land in the green, you go all the way up this way, and then you have Independence, Missouri. So this is the piece of land that they're talking about. But if we zoom out, so it's like basically these areas right here. If you zoom out, the church has lots of land all over the place. And I do think that probably the majority of it is for investment purposes, right? Because the church has to stay afloat, have money, and they do invest in different things. But you can see in like the northeast quadrant of the city, or at least north of the northeast quadrant of the city, there's a bunch of land that the church owns up here. And it's in this gray color, which means that it's either special purpose or vacant land. And then you can see that here's Independence. And where's that spot? I thought hold on. I'm trying to find where, oh, here it is. Okay, so here's the Independence Visitor Center, right? And across the street here would be the Community of Christ Temple and their auditorium over here, right? So you can see that the church owns this section of land right here, where you have the Stake Center, and then you have the Independence Visitor Center, but then further south, you have like this kind of like open land. Let me show you. Here's Independence. There it is. So they have like this, it seems that they have this entire thing right here. So they already have all this land. And remember, for the millionth time, the Independence Visitor Center was built to be part of the 24 Temple complex. It was built to the revealed dimensions to Joseph Smith for each temple in the 24 Temple complex. It has 2 levels, and I can't remember the feet, but there was a specific dimensions that were revealed to Joseph Smith, and they decided to build this so that the city wouldn't take this land that was not being used for anything, because they were at risk of eminent domain where the government can just take your land. And so they built the visitor center, and then they have the stake center right next to it. Okay. So going back to this, so they have that whole area, and then they have this part south, which I don't know what's down here. I have no idea, but the church owns it. And then over here to the east, on the other side of this street, I don't know, like this right here, I guess. So it seems that in Independence, Missouri itself, there's only a little bit of land that the church owns. And I don't think that that land would be for investment purposes. I'm assuming that it's for the future, you know, for the actual city of New Jerusalem. All these other ones around Kansas City most likely are for investment purposes, but I don't know. I can't say. There's not a way to distinguish on this map, according to this key, which are special purpose and which are vacant, because they're both color coded in gray. But you can also see green over here, so that would be our agricultural land that the church owns and whatever. But when you zoom out and you look at the entire country, the church owns land all over the place. They have vacant land and special purpose land all over the country. So this article doesn't really mean a whole lot, I guess, when you take this into account. Of course, they are the ones that provide the link. So when you get down here, of course, the church still owns more than 2,300 acres in Lee's Summit and lots of other lots. And you click on this and it brings you to the map. So whatever, just that the church, they sold some land in Lee's Summit down here, but they still have land in Lee's Summit. So it's not really that big of a deal. But I thought that I would bring that up just because my mom sent it to me, and it kind of goes along with this idea of land and what the church owns, what land that saints are buying for themselves, for their personal residences. It is really interesting. It's really interesting. Okay, well, this did go for about an hour. So I'm going to save the rest of my material for the next video, where we talk about the rare blue supermoon, and we're going to talk about the tribes of Israel, because if this is a sign, there's some interesting things to talk about when we're thinking about the tribes of Israel and the months of the year, and how this supermoon is defined, because it's not. What were the two types? Calendar blue moon and seasonal blue moon. So the fact that it's a seasonal blue moon makes it interesting when we think about the tribes of Israel. But I'll cover that in the next video. Thank you, everybody, for that wrote in. If you have any additional information, feel free to send it my way. Only time will tell how things play out, but it'd be really interesting to see if we get like a sizable Tongan population in Trenton or around that area. And maybe not just Tongans, maybe other Polynesians will want to move there, or maybe they'll pick a different city that's around there. I don't know. Put in the comments, have you moved to the Midwest from somewhere else? Did you feel a pull or a prompting to move to the Midwest? Put it in the comments below. All right, well, that's going to be it for this one. So if you haven't already, please make sure to subscribe, like this video if you liked it, leave your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. Also make sure to share it, and I'll talk to you guys later.